Hey guys, Dark Humility here with a brand new build showcase on my solo self-found hardcore journey this season 11 PD2. We have a Strafe multi-shot hybrid Amazon. Then you might be wondering, what does that mean? That means Demon Machine. Demon Machine allows you to proc tons of multiple shots while also using Strafe. And of course, that gives you the best of both worlds. That means you have super high area of effect while also being able to punch through those tankier monsters. One weakness sometimes multi-shot has is that sometimes it fails to kill a single target that is very strong or physical resistant quickly, whereas this can do it better. Now, to be fair, you can always go 1 point strafe on a multi-shot Xana and also accomplish that. But this always accomplishes it, and you don't have to do anything fancy or even switch up your skills. You just have to use Strafe. Now, this character of mine is my second primary mapper. My primary mapper this whole season has been the Blade Fury Sin, as I'm sure you've seen. Now you've probably seen 3 installments, and you've seen how powerful she's gotten. However, this character is actually kinda nutty. Let me tell you, Strafe achieves what a very powerful multi-shot Amazon would, only with a very, very, very powerful bow. And even then, it's arguable that this is better in a lot of scenarios. And you'll see what I mean when I start demoing her. Probably one of the more underrated builds this season is the Demon Machine Strafe Zone. Despite nerfs to Demon Machine and despite other things, one thing that has made this particular version of the build so powerful is the introduction of 10% physical pierce from the passive tree, the season 11. And that does a lot more than you might think it does. So even though you lost 5 off the crossbow, technically you've still gained 5, even from the previous power that this character was able to achieve. So that's kind of nuts, and of course with all those multi-shots proccing, we'll see why this is so devastating. At any rate, of course, we'll show off these stats, the skills, the mercenary, and the gear, and then we'll do some map demos to show you guys what we mean. Now, to be fair, this is not my tankiest hardcore character. She's a little squishy. I wouldn't say she's insanely squishy though. She's got decent damage reduction. She's got max res, even overstacked to some extent. So she's not gonna die super easily. But one thing to note is she also has a lot of built-in defense just from the Demon Imp creation on Demon Machine, meaning that you don't need Valkyries, which you'll see in this build. And then another very interesting thing is the built-in survivability, of course, from dodge and evade. And then, of course, also the fact that you're killing a lot of things off-screen. And you don't really need to get close to very dangerous enemies. If you detect any super dangerous auras and you're amped, you never have to get close to them. Because of how the multi-shot will proc off the monster you hit and fire further than you can even see. This makes this a lot safer than you might think, which is why even though we didn't max dex on this build like you could on softcore, we did put points into dex for additional damage, and we didn't fully max Vita, and we seem to be fine, but you never know, maybe this character will get walloped at some point. But for now, we're enjoying it, and that's kind of what we're doing. We're making different builds to enjoy, maybe a couple other builds to do some other boss fights as well. But this build in general, I have been incredibly impressed with. So we can check out, of course, you need enough strength to wear your gear here. Wearing everything, we're good. Dex, I just put a lot into Dex, honestly. My goal with the Vita was hitting somewhere around 2,000 health, so we kind of achieved that. I will hit 2,000 health again, and I'll probably put enough points into Vitality to hit like 400 if I kept leveling her. I don't know how many levels she'll get, but we'll still get a lot of Vita though as well, just because it's hardcore and dying once is not a thing. unless you want to lose everything. And of course, we have, of course, some stacked res. You can see it's decently stacked. It's actually better stacked than the Assassin in a lot of cases, and she has Fade, so that's kind of impressive. But that being said, because you don't get as much damage from your Grand Charms necessarily, you can definitely justify more res in your charms, which we'll show off here in a momentarily. You'll see though we got flat DR, but we have 43%, so we don't even have as much DR as the Sen, but this is enough to kind of prevent the one-shot, which is something that we kind of want to avoid, because when we're running really fast with the Vigor Aura and whatnot, I really like this, by the way, for Strafe, because you have to stand still. Having as much movement speed as possible is really, really good. I'd even prefer to have more movement speed on something like this. I mean, I got one of these here too, but you could have even more movement speed GCs if you're on softcore. So, and of course if you're trading as well, because I actually do have another one of these, but I probably can't justify it. But you can see though the Vigor Aura plus the passive plus just having movement speed on your gear is very, very useful if possible. But at any rate, yeah, so you just put the rest in the Vita, down into energy. You can see we've got, cast rate isn't really necessary at all. We're not casting any summons, but we do have that from our Fortitude. When I level this character additional times, the plan would be to hit 32 hit recovery, which would be better. So the rest of my points literally are going into dodge at this point. And notice that really the main goal is just to invest as much as possible into these passives. These passives are insane on the Amazon, and obviously, you max Strafe. So you max Strafe, you max Penetrate, until you get really heavy diminishing returns, you pump Critical Strike. Until it's like 2 points per 1%, something like that. And then yeah, I mean, you just, as you can see, you get pretty heavy diminishing returns on this too, but you do get 1 hit recovery per level. And yeah, we'll get more dodge. It's basically block without the animation. It's that powerful in the zone, and you can see we have a very high level percent here just by running around. And you do want to max this or get this close to max, because you get movement speed up to 65%. So movement speed obviously is going to make your whole mapping experience better and faster. And on softcore, you just max that, 100%, no problem. I am trying to kind of balance a bunch of considerations here, like my effective block while firing as well. So that is a thing. But you'll notice that we kill so fast on this character that, and we kill things off screen, we don't have to worry too much about taking damage the vast majority of the time. That being said, if we do get amped, we should be a bit cautious, because I imagine if I get hit like 2 or 3 times in quick succession with amp and they got aura like extra strong, I might die. I don't think I can get one shot though. We've tested that, so that's a good thing. You'll notice though we do have some attack speed. This prevents like decrepify and negative attack speed maps from making us slow. Fanaticism is really good though. You also have an attack speed ED jewel, and I think the vampire gaze, so that's nice, right? Yeah, that's kind of nice. Yeah, now Pierce is kind of tough to get on this build. This is why I really made sure that, well, 1, res is tough too, so is Magic Find. So 15 all res, Magic Find, Fire is corrupted, really high Pierce, really high ED. There are other stats that could be really good on this, like if I also had Deadly Strike and movement speed, this would be a perfect bolts. But this is going to be a little tough to beat, at least at the moment, so that kind of works out. Hit recovery, yeah, I'd like to have 1 more frame, so we're going to work towards that. But it's pretty solid. Magic Find, luckily the maps boost it up. You only have 72 base. It can be challenging to get more for sure on this build, but overall it's pretty good. Exactly 100% Pierce. You'll see, of course, you have 61 crit strike, but the Deadly Strike will also roll. So yeah, overall, we're looking at like maybe effective like 63 to 65. chance of double damage, which is okay. I could have higher if I was wearing Gore Riders, but once again, kind of like with the Sin, greeting for that magic find, so we actually find things on our little self-found while we're mapping. You just need one source of mana and life leech on this build. If you don't know how that works, you'll get all your life and mana back pretty much instantly because you do so much damage. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the stats there. Don't think there's anything too else super important to go over, but more deadly strike would be nice. Crushing blow also helps. We don't have any though. Let's see. Yeah, attack rating, I mean, it's way overstacked, so I wouldn't really be too concerned about it. You're never going to struggle with that stat on this build. Not only that, but I even have an ignore target defense corruption here, so it's like, yeah, I mean, we only need the AR against bosses and elites anyway, so it's, yeah, it's going to shred everything else. Everything else gets hit no matter what. So yeah, I showed off the skills already. It's just max strafe and then the synergy penetrate. But even if you didn't have this as a synergy, the 10% physical pierce is insane. So for sure you would max that. And then you need enough pierce depending on your gear to hit 100%. You can wear Razor Tail on softcore, but the pierce corruption for Dungos is going to save our life here. So also giving us some much needed faster hit recovery. So yeah, not bad, not bad. Like I actually have a hit recovery attack rating Grand Charm, but I'm actually not using it. I'm choosing to greed a bit more here for life. But I actually do have one I could use, so there is actually potential for me to get that higher without having to level this up more, put more hard points into it. By the way, evade, dodge, you're really trying to max these out after you get max pierce. After this hits are like somewhere between 61 and 63 crit strike. You know, that's kind of what you're going for on this build every time. Because we have the demon imps, we don't need Valkyrie. Also, the Valkyries kind of die anyway, unless you have like 3 of them, and then they still die. They're a little squishy. So having to like resummon them over and over isn't really going to make you faster. So one thing to note here is, and that's actually something I've kind of discovered like playing the bows on, is that in general, if you have other ways to defend yourself or just to avoid damage, by either strafing or just moving really fast or just having other things to block, like your Mercenary, if you're using an Act 5 for Battle Cry. You could also use a Beast and a Templars in this build, and it has the same effect. But I'll show you, of course, the Mercenary in a moment. But yeah, the Demon Imps from this are pretty big. Anyways, so let's go to the Mercenary. So the Mercenary's Vigor Aura, very fast, on top of course, the evade passive. Can still get 10% more movement speed out of that if we wanted to, but I actually think I'm gonna max that out. We're gonna go for more defensive stats every level from now on. But yeah, so of course we have we've got a max rolled faith and a 7 might 3 socketed Templar. So this is might and Fanata aura, really good for damage. And yes, the attack speed does actually help, particularly resists, decrepify, and negative attack speed maps, which can make this feel very clunky. And things like maps like River of Blood are actually really good on this build because of that. I could show off River of Blood, but I'm actually going to show off the more open Demon Road. But River of Blood is also very strong in this build. I did find this recently. This is pretty sick, right? The Merc's got all kinds of stacked res. She is very tanky. You can see here she's got decent DR. It's not insane, but because she like never gets hit basically because I shred everything in front of me, she doesn't have to be that tanky. I don't even think she's died before, so you don't have to worry about that. This is just for a little bit of extra damage, the Enchant Fire. It's not super important, honestly. You could have like Laying of Hands. You could do all kinds of things with this. Pierce corruption string, and pierce on the arrows. So yeah, pierce is good for the mercenary too. Almost at 100%, so good enough. And just some damage DR type stuff down there. And she can keep up with us, but as you can see, we run very fast. But the funny thing is you can run even faster, and that means the transition from attacks is even smoother. So the movement speed, I actually prefer the Act 1 Mercenary on this because it just feels like really smooth transitions, and you still get like the dual aura and damage and whatnot. Anyway, charms, damage, life, MF. Yeah. Also, that is a 6 small charm. Also, I can even put on this, and this is a crazy small charm. It's a perfect small charm just for damage. A lot of you guys may have never seen one of these. It's only a very high. So this is the level 77 1 max damage on top of the fine affix, which is pretty cool. So you get the 1 max damage suffix. It's kind of neat. And then yeah, you get a lot of solid charms here. I do have my Amazon torch, so that's why we made her. Been having some issues with some torches, which is why we haven't made certain builds that I really wanted to make, but we haven't done it yet. I'm actually gonna work on that today. I'm gonna just start power farming more keys because the game is gonna drop us a barb torch, or I'm gonna be upset. These are our soul drainers. We also used on the assassin. It's just really, really good for any build. Wants to get that 1.5 multiplier a bit more. This demon machine rolled pretty darn well. This is a puzzle box 4, so max sockets, ED, ITD corruption, higher than the maximum damage by about like 40 to 50. That would normally roll like from just a base demon machine. So pretty dang good. It could be better, of course, but that's pretty solid. 3 ohm runes and a 36 ED negative requirement cold res jewel. I personally wanted to like lower the strength requirement a bit, so that's why I did that, so I can just put more into dex. Don't prefer putting as much into strength on this build, so I don't know, that jewel's pretty solid. Even the 36 ED and the cold res, even without that stat though, definitely giving us some much needed res stackage. Fortitude sometimes is a very simple and yet elegant solution, even on hardcore, because if you have enough damage reduction elsewhere, really all you're looking for sometimes here is just crazy enhanced damage, crazy res, and honestly a huge life boost. We got a max life roll on that, so that's pretty sick. Definitely rolling a pretty solid amount of life every time we level up, so that's nice. This is a monster, so we upgraded this and we got 3 sockets, and it's 23% DR. Yeah, so attack speed, ED jewel, other ED jewels in this. Yeah, this thing is crazy. I love this. This is great. This is our last uncorrupted item on any character at the moment, and it is because I bricked 2 Atmoscarabs that I found from Andy before getting this one, and I was just sick of farming Andy, and I'm not doing it again, and if I lose this build is toast. So, you know what? If I don't find another one, it is what it is, but I am going to hold on to this one. Yeah, we're not going to brick it. So, yeah, we'll definitely slam it before the solo self-found hardcore is done, even if I don't find another one, to see what happens, but not super important. My CTA luck hasn't been insane, but this is pretty decent. You know, it's we do need the battle orders and the battle command, but you know, it's decent. It does its job. I'm using a slightly weaker one than the one on the Sin, but I would say it's pretty comparable, and the 40 life is nice. Pierce Corruption Dungos. I have a lot of Pierce Corruption. I got another Pierce Corruption Dungos. It's got 1 less DR though. And then I also have a Pierce Corruption String of Ears, but not quite as good on this setup. Really need that fast rate recovery. The vitality is really good. So yeah, really nice to have a Pierce Corruption DR belt though. That's like pretty big. Also pretty big to get a PDR Corruption on a 20 Dex Ravenfrost. And yeah, we don't take that much damage, so, you know, Ethereal War Travs, why not? These are the only ones I have that have a useful stat, and it's an Ethereal one, so there you have it. My other ones rolled Enhanced Defense, and this one rolled Fire Res, so awesome. Maybe we'll find one that actually gets a useful stat at some point. Maybe not. At any rate, let's show her off. I bet you're curious just how ridiculous this, or not ridiculous, this build is. Maybe you're not convinced. By the way, like, Fledgathon is insane on this build. I'm not going to show off Fledgathon, but man, it's insane. I'm going to show off Cistern. But yeah, like, Fledgathon, it's actually pretty clean because you don't have to get near the charger zombies, and it's really open. Throne gets murdered as well. You'll see that we have some of these maps just sitting around ready to be used. But yeah, instead we're going to show off these three, so I'm going to do that in order here. And yep, alright. So that's all you gotta do. You just got a bow and yep. And run and gun, baby. That's all you gotta do. Look at that, man. This damage is wild, isn't it? You can notice just how many multi-shot procs come off, like, it's crazy. Now, I'm pretty sure I demoed this from the closed beta, so I have a video of this from this season. But you can see that if we can achieve this in solo self-found, just imagine what you can do with full gear. Or on softcore, where you go full dex. Like, the damage is actually kind of wild. You can just see how fast we complete this map too. And, you know, even if I pick up some useless items. Yeah, it's kind of silly. And bye-bye. Bye-bye, boss. It was nice knowing you. So I got amped, so when I'm amped I gotta be a little careful. I don't have max block, unlike the assassin. I technically do have block though, and it's without an animation, which is nice. But it's not nearly as high, so the quick succession of damage can be a lot more merciless. But you notice for the most part, I can just run up right up to things and just kill them. And if there's ever something that feels like it's a very dangerous ranged enemy or something, I can shred it. One thing I've done a lot with this build already is I've done a lot of doll maps too. Super safe to do doll maps in this build because the multi-shots will proc and kill them, like, once again off screen. And unless you run too fast into them, you're not going to have an issue just dying to them instantly, typically. So it's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. Oh wow. Why do we keep getting this? I don't understand. How did we... Whatever, he dies so fast from this, it doesn't matter. I'm good on Fall of Chaldean. That's just another tier 1 map. We're gonna go on to a tier 2. But yeah, you guys can see though just how ridiculous this is. Now right now my res is actually awful, but that's because of lower resist. Look how fast though I've been able to see it. The thing is Strafe this season has no desync and they fixed the damage on it. So now I can transition from gunning to running, and it doesn't make us not be able to hit the monsters anymore like it used to. And the multi-shots, well, they're incredibly unforgiving to the monsters. They can't do anything about it. There's nothing in there. And on linear maps where there's like not too many choke points, it's really easy to hit everything. There's maps with like a couple choke points, like River, where the choke point can be annoying sometimes. Oh, that's interesting. It's a chaos base, like ideal chaos base even. Cool. But yeah, you'll notice how fast this map gets completed. And the more density the better. Like, this isn't even like the greatest demonstration of this. Wasn't able to corrupt like a super high density map, but man, this build will go hard in there for sure. And now you guys will know how to make one of these. But you'll notice that like I don't struggle against anything. The Act 5 Merc though, not a bad idea to employ like in Pledgeathon for those like physical immunes. Like when the Bloodbringers are stone skin in that. They're pretty annoying to kill, so. But yeah, I mean, I just finished the map. I mean, that's just. She is a freight train. A literal freight train. That is her name. But yeah, one thing we don't have to fear, like I said, you know, we don't really have to fear strong projectiles either. Because the thing is if there's any actual strong projectiles, I can always dodge the first wave. Or just straight up dodge it with my passives. I could dodge it with my movement speed too, though. And then I can back up, fire off a volley, and they'll die off screen. A lot of the time, though, really powerful monsters will die before I even am in range. You see that? Kind of like that. They won't even have a chance to hit me. So you would think that the whole strafe, you know, sitting in one spot would be very dangerous. Well, not really. Considering that we can fire and kill them off screen, and because we have such high movement speed, even after I do have to stand in place for a little bit, I can quickly run away. It's very easy to cancel it too. Just gotta keep moving ahead. So strafe is like definitely one of the hidden OPs. Damage is pretty insane. Like, this damage is crazy, right? So this is at tier 2 now. But as you'll see, as we progress to the tier 3 and whatnot, it doesn't matter. Yeah, see, they die before, you know, they even have a chance to kill me. One thing you have to worry about though is if you do get amped, just make sure that you know, don't get hit by the projectiles, or at the very least make sure they you know, they don't have auras on them. Because otherwise you could be hit pretty hard, which I have been a few times. But for the most part, we look tanky enough to survive most things you're ever gonna encounter. So one thing that's a little bit of a weakness of strafe is that if the monsters are like in all directions surrounding you, DPS isn't really there. Particularly if there's not a lot of density and I can't really get off the multi-shot procs quite as easily. But yeah, I mean, and of course with the movement speed and whatnot, we just move blazing fast through the maps. And I do so much damage that, like, if you play softcore, you can disrespect even more, honestly. You can just run right up to the monsters. But I can even do that on hardcore, as you can see. I mean, it's not, you know, there's some situational cases where I might want to watch what I'm doing there. For the most part, though, it's not a thing, though. I'm not worried about some, oh, look at that. I like that event. That's a good event. We're still kind of a low level in this character. We're 91. We went from 80 to 91, though, in like 6 hours on this character, though, so... Yeah, I mean, it's not really a thing. And now, the monsters won't even survive like half a second, so if they try to get up and do anything, they're toast. But yeah, you gotta watch amp. Sometimes running up to things like charger zombies with the amp getting a little too close. I'm gonna back up a bit because he is like doing decrep and amp on me, lowering my physical resistance. It is nice to still have high physical resistance though, because we do want to prevent the one shot. One shot is definitely a thing. You know, if you don't have enough DR on the Zon, you know, you don't put enough points in a Vita, you can definitely easily get one shot, particularly in the higher tier maps, particularly things like charger zombies or projectiles. We get like 5 or 6% off this here. Oh, just 5%. What I noticed, I have not found a splinter in a while. Luckily I have 2, but let's see here. Is this the boss? Yeah. Yeah, that's not too bad. But yeah, she's pretty nuts though. And some might be asking, which one do I think is stronger, the Sin or the Zon? Well, I would say this character's damage is a little higher, maybe. Sin's got better survivability though. But I think that where the Sin has maybe a small advantage is the mobility. But I don't know, it's also about the same. Like they're similar in a lot of ways. I mean, they also both do physical damage, to be fair. Of course, she's using a totally different set of gear though to achieve something that is essentially similar. One thing to note though is I would say this character is more thorough at killing monsters though. That definitely is a thing.
I am overburdened.
No doubt. Way more thorough. Multi-shot doesn't leave a lot of scraps. Whereas Blade Fury sometimes doesn't get all the bounces and doesn't kill all the monsters instantly. But I'm sure though. Yeah, the monsters just get absolutely shredded. Maybe I'll take a big hit so you can see. Maybe not though, I don't know. Maybe we don't get the worst spawns in this map. Maybe not. Oh. Yeah, I'm good on that. Don't need a lot of attack speed on Demon Machine. It's a very, very fast weapon. You might be wondering why the frames are so good when you saw the stats. That's why. Now one thing to note is if you want to do fortified mapping, I actually recommend either Bariza or a crafted crossbow on Strafe. Because then you can punch through them with even higher damage. Whereas when we're looking for a standard mapper with Strafe, this has the AoE to really get the job done. Well, 100% has the AoE to get the job done. But yeah, you just fly in. We just fly in through this map. And more density isn't a problem because we'll shred that too just as easily. These are like only 100 density maps, so I mean it's like can't even really see the full extent of her power here, but you can kind of gather it for sure. When the density is a bit higher like this, you can kind of see it. Alright, so yeah, super fast. Those demon imps constantly making it difficult for the monsters to hit us. One thing to note is when you gather a bunch of those demon imps, the bosses will like always attack them first. When we go up to the ruined cistern boss, you'll see what I mean. This boss can be kind of annoying and dangerous, right? But not so much if you are if you're running this weapon here. We'll see what I mean. Alright. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, always try to roll. Always try to roll them. Alright, so this is the tier 3 map demo. Of course, they don't necessarily have to do the whole map, but she does them so fast, it's like... Yeah, see, I'm not amped. I'm not too worried about that. Got strong projectiles for sure, though, sometimes. You got some archers in this one. But you notice that when they got ores like that, look how far back I can stand and cast or fire my strafe. And everything dies. I don't have to get close to things. Getting close to things can be nice, though, because I can get I can proc multi-shot on monsters that are even further ahead. This is why I like if you run up to the monster and go firing like that. But the thing is, you don't have to. One can argue, in a lot of situations on hardcore, you don't want to take the chance, right? So right now I'm amped, you know, I'll be a little more careful here. But once again, I don't really have to be that careful for the most part. What a machine. One can argue the monsters never stood a chance. I definitely argue that. Also, everyone has to admit that the Great Hauberk is the sexiest armor on the Amazon. If you're using another armor, you're not doing it right. Yeah, see, that's might and whatnot. I'm not amped though. There's no way you can do enough damage with that. It's really only because I got damage reduction. As long as the damage reduction is up, there's no chance. And even with it down quite a bit, I still have enough HP to weather some pretty big hits. I have tested this. I don't know if we'll actually get to demo that fully here, but look at that, man. Utter annihilation. Yeah, this is a tier 3, so I mean, like, we could do anything. You could do cows with this because you got the multi-shot. You could do whatever you want. However, I would argue the assassin is probably safer in the cow scenario. If you ever accidentally get surrounded by cows, even if you fire, you might get put in a hit recovery. And even though it doesn't desync, there's ever a small chance the server like has a ping lag spike or something. Cows is not the safest option for this particular build that I made here on my HC SSF, but it's you know, there's no reason why you couldn't though. The Sin is a lot more resistant against dying to things like lag spikes, particularly with the redemption aura too. I mean, oh man, look at that! I actually lost another durability on the boots. What a crazy development! Yeah, I'm not surprised. Oh my god. Let's see, Pierce. Nah. Well, that's only the second durability we've lost on the boots, so we're doing pretty good. We've killed a lot of monsters already. Let's see, how many have we killed since she's been alive? Alright, 112,000 at level 91. Yeah, that makes sense. Guess we're on track to lose my boots at like 500,000 kills. I guess so. Alright, so check this out. So you see you have all these demon imps. The boss is gonna get terribly distracted in there. Oh well, we definitely don't want to fight that boss though, because it's half physical, half poison. Not with amp anyway. Yeah, that boss hits hard, so even with my demon imps, you know, you'll notice that the boss is now firing at the demon imps and whatnot quite a bit. It's firing at me too, though. It is distracted. Yeah, see, it's firing at them now. It's kind of nice, right? And since they're all spread out everywhere, like, they don't hit you very often unless you let them, I guess. But yeah, there you go. I mean, pretty sweet, right? I think so. Yeah, it's a pretty decent small turn. At any rate, I actually have really enjoyed this build since making it. I'm glad I made this build. My goal is to make a whole bunch of other builds, and we'll show them off. Show off what we found this season. Show off some of our sick items. We have a lot of sick gear that we have just made ourselves. No trading involved. Sometimes, though, it is difficult, though, to get like perfectly optimal builds without trading, or impossible, but nonetheless, we've done pretty well. But yeah, you see this like -8 like attack speed map, for instance. We have enough overcap to deal with that, so that's exactly what we want.
Afternoon.
Exactly. But yeah, anyway, GG guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about this build in the comments below. You think it's broken? Have you tried it this season? I don't know. Anyway, let's get it. I'll have the timestamps below. See you guys next time. Dark Humility over and out. Let's crush it.